Hello, welcome back to our little farm here in East Texas. I am down the barn with Matilda, and on the outside of the barn you may notice there is a structure you may not have seen before, and that is what today's video is all about. Just finished milking Matilda. Isn't she beautiful? She's been such a good girl. And the fly spray, people, oh my goodness, it has changed everything. She's so much happier without all those flies, aren't you? Just nasty flies. So the other day we had a working bee here on our place, and we had a number of friends, and some rallies came up from Houston, and we just got a bunch done. Now, I wasn't able to film hardly at all on that day. I had a bridal shower to go to for a friend of ours, and it was also my mother-in-law's 85th birthday, so I was cooking for that. I didn't have to do everything. My brother-in-law does an amazing barbecue, and he did all of that, but I was doing cake and breads and things for that, so I really did not get a chance to get out here between that and the bridal shower for doing much filming. And I was just thinking, oh, this will be a day where we don't get much filming done. But my amazing husband, without telling me, picked up the camera and just documented what he was doing. So I'm going to show you some of that. It'll be a bit different to what you're used to, but they got all of this corral built and some work done out in the back paddock. So it was a really good day, and amazing what you can do when you have many hands to help out.
A little update, the worm farm. It's pretty thick with the mulch, which we did it for winter. I've dug deep in and I have collected manure. Well, actually Caleb and Titus helped me today with the manure. And what we're going to do is we're going to feed the manure in here. Then we're going to recover it all with the wood chips, and then I'm going to give it a massive big soak because it's a bit dry from winter. So with the soak, it'll just breathe life. What happens with the worm farm, the tap is off. So if you look here, we've got an on-off tap. The tap is off, so when I fill the water in here, it's going to force the worms that are dormant down there to actually come up. So I'm going to do several loads of water, several gallons of water, just to bring this up. And then when I've got it full, I'll let it sit there for a little bit, and then I will empty the water that we can use on the different garden beds. So it's just like a great worm juice mix. But right now what I'm doing is I'm going to finish putting the cow poop in, I'm going to cover it all up, and then I'll go get some more water. We're having a work day here on the farm, so the boys said no to their friends, and we're all here working, and it's just a day to get stuff done. We try to leave Saturdays as free as possible, but there's always something to do, and it's battling the mind saying, do I rest or do I take advantage of my Saturday? And today we just planned it, a full work day. We've not had a full farm work day yet, so this is sun up to sundown work day, and we've been out for about, I guess, 3 or 4 hours now. The big boys have been helping chainsaw in the back and clear brush, trying to make pasture, and then the boys, the little fellas, have been helping with the second compost bay. And then I and a mate of mine's here, we're finishing the corral. So like that, I'm just going to put several buckets of water in, fill it up, get it nice and juicy, let that go in there. Obviously, the more water that's in there, the more moist those wood chips get, and they'll decompose a lot easier. And then with that decomposition, that will cause the worms to be able to eat through it faster, which then will create more worm castings and worm juice. And these are just buckets that we've left out in the rain to collect water. so that we can use it to recycle. And so instead of us having to use town water, we're giving the worms some good rainwater. So we haven't totally figured out our water system yet, but this fella here is great, and we've got several of them around. It's just great collecting rainwater. It means we get free water that we don't have to pay for. It's not from the council, it's better, it's purer, the animals like it, and our gardens like it, and the worms like it. So I've put about 8 buckets, I guess, in. This is going to be 9 and 10, and I'll just show you how nice and soupy the worm farm is now. A couple of dry spots still, but you can see it there. And again, the whole purpose of this is just to dry. This wood chips are all dry from winter. They've dried out, and we're just trying to make it nice and wet and soupy. And like at your house, when it rains a lot, the worms will come up out of the ground because they don't want to drown. And all this water in here will force the worms up, and you'll be able to see what activity you have, whether there's good microbe activity, but I see bugs. You won't be able to see the microbes, but it'll force the worms up, and they will sniff out that poop, and they will be able to tell that the poop is there, which is food. So basically what we're doing is we're feeding them and we're giving them water. Now I could let this sit for a lot longer, but on this worm farm over here, I need some water. So what better to do than to give them juice from here? So I invite you to come around here. All the way around, please, Zach. And I'll show you. Just gonna open this up, and you'll notice it's nice and black. It's probably a bit clogged actually. So we've got the worm juice from the big fella. We're still draining more juice out, but right now I'm going to put this in here just to stimulate these guys that are in here. We did have a look, there's a few in there, but we're not sure about how much activity is in here. So everything we do will help, and it will just be that much better for the wormies that we do have. Hey guys, so this is my friend Mike. Mike, wave to the camera. And Mike's been here helping us today. So I'm sure Chrissy said something to you, but I am a city boy. City boy who turned coastal, and we had chickens in a garden, and then we went to the country and we had more chickens and more garden and had our own beef. And I've never worked on a property like this. I've never had any projects like this. I've never had the opportunity, but also I've never made time or taken the opportunity. So all of this is brand new. I have not had much tool time at all with experience of building things. But when your heart is to homestead, you've got to get over your excuses. And we have some goals in our hearts that we want to achieve. Part of that goal we've achieved through a dairy cow. We want to have a calf. We want more dairy cows. But one of the things that we have to do is I have to get better at building things. So what we've done here, you've seen the barn many a time. This is where Chrissy milks the cow. She does the milking here in the little stanchion on this side of the barn. And what we decided to do was to build a corral here. And the corral is so that when we get new animals on the property, we can just bring them straight down here, reverse them in, and this will be like a holding pen for them, where that they'll be able to stay the first 2 or 3 days, get used to us, get used to the property, get used to our touch, our feel, how we're walking and how we're talking. But to do the corral, I don't know. So I've had to ask a lot of questions. I've had to read a lot. I've had to Google and research. And my son, Zachary, has really gone above and beyond. He's just amazing. We had to get posts. We had to figure out how wide they needed to be. Zach and I did the first couple together. And then basically he's built all of this other stuff today, in the past. And Mike's come over to help me put the fence on, the wire on. And when he got here, he said, oh, we probably are going to need to do some bracing. And I know bracing, but I didn't do any bracing. I know what a H brace is, but I didn't do any H brace. But I did have enough scraps around and timber to use. So he got here early this morning. It's just been such a blessing to us. He's actually helped us put the Rio in the posts, which I think you guys call rebarb. And we've braced these posts because we're going to pull wire from this post all the way down to that post and then back down to there. So all of this is going to be fully fenced as a holding yard, as a corral for our future animals. So we're up to the stage where that we're actually nailing the wire in. We're going to pull it tight as we can. I think we've got a come along that we're going to use to pull it tight. And then we're just going to have a crack at making it work. So I'm going to put you over here. You guys can watch, and we will talk to you again soon. We've put some 2x4s on the fence. We've got the come along, and we're actually going to use the come along and attach it on the back of his truck to tension out the fence so that when we hammer the nails in, it's going to have a lot of tension on it, which will just make it that much more safe for the cows and sheep and whatever animals we may get in the near future. So this is my mate Mike. And this is Kason, who you've seen before, also known as Tree Guy. And Mike's just going to explain what we're doing here.
Well, we've got this fence pancake between the 2x4 so that we'll be able to hook a come along to the center of this. We'll be able to stretch the fence tight so that there's no slack in it. We'll anchor it to my truck. And once we get it up, they'll come down and start putting nails in until they get to the end. Then we'll release the tension.
I knew we were going to be doing that.
And then we do it on all of them? Is
Yes.
this the same process for all of them?
Yeah.
Could have brought Michael along from the house.
I've got mine.
This will be good. But, so we've had to pivot twice, and that's just part of homesteading. You do what you can do. So originally, Zach and I made a space down here for our gate. And it was a good size 4-foot gate, great for people, but not necessarily a good size for the cows. So Mike and I were thinking about it, and as we got ready to do the H bracing, he's like, well, why don't we put the gate at the end here? Because if we put the gate at the end here, it's going to be a much wider section for her to come through. And as I thought about it, originally when we planned the corral, we'd actually designed it so as we bring any trucks down with animals, we could feed them in here, but I forgot it. So Zach and I went ahead and put all these posts in, forgetting that I wanted the gate up here and forgetting that we needed a H brace. So we've pivoted twice. Instead of coming and putting the wire straight in, which we would have been finished hours ago, we've actually now done the H braces. We've redesigned the gate, and now we're up to the point where we can actually do the wiring in. So it's all coming along. And that's part of it, guys. You know, you'll start something, and if you're like me and have no experience in anything, you'll have a lack of confidence, and it will paralyze you. It will absolutely paralyze you. But there's a guy that we've been watching for years now, Jason from Sotherland, and talk about a guy that doesn't make excuses. He's survived cancer. He was a city boy. He was I believe he was a drafting engineer or something. So he was in front of a computer all the time, and he loved to run. that guy decided that he and his wife and their baby girl would move out of the city of Los Angeles, really California. I'm not sure if it was Los Angeles. To Australia, everything in California is Los Angeles. But he moved from LA. They ended up moving to, I believe, South Carolina or North Carolina. I get the two mixed up. And he just didn't make excuses. And whenever he was asked, I remember Justin Rhodes, we saw him first through Justin Rhodes. Justin made this comment about Jason. Justin said, the guy just doesn't say no. And the reason for that is because every time you say yes, it's an opportunity to learn something. And we've just had to say yes. So even though I don't know what I'm doing, and even though there's a lot of lack of confidence, which is paralyzing, you just can't make excuses, because if the dream is big enough, you'll do what you have to do to see it accomplished. And a lot of the times for me, that means getting friends to help, people that have been there before me. And Mike said he'd never fenced before, but his brother-in-law had. So when he went to fence his 10 acres, how many acres do you have, Mike?
10.
When he went to fence his 10 acres, he had no clue. He'd never done it before, but his brother-in-law had. So he asked his brother-in-law for advice, and his brother-in-law said, sure, let me come up and I'll help. So when we started this, I asked Mike, knowing, because he had showed me his fence before on his property, I said, Mike, what do we do? And he just set it out. He said, you do this first, then this second, then this third. And we got to the point where we were, and then again, I got paralyzed by fear and we went no further. And I said, Mike, I just need to ask you a couple more questions because I haven't done anything. And he said, okay, look, this is what you do. And he said, you do this first, you do this second, you do this third. But then what he did is he said, now listen, when it comes time for doing it, if you want me to, I can come over and help. And that was such a blessing because, man, when you don't have confidence and you don't know what you're doing, you're just kind of like, oh, and that's going to happen to you guys in life. It might not be homesteading. It might be in fixing some marriage problem. It might be disciplining children. It might be trying to get your adult kids to figure out where they want to go in life. But just because it's hard doesn't mean you put it off. When it's hard is when you need to just dig in and dive in and put your feet down and make decisions. And that's what we did. And Mike said, look, when it comes time, just let me know and I'll come over. And he was here this morning bright and early. It was still cold and we haven't stopped working. So in Australia, we would have had smoko by now. It'd almost be lunchtime. But he hasn't stopped. And we're just working and working and working. And we're going to get it done. And that's what sometimes you need to do. I don't like asking for help. I like helping people. But in life, you've got to be able to ask. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. Now, that doesn't mean I want to go asking people every time I've got to do something. But when I don't know what to do, I'm not too shy to ask for help. I'm not too embarrassed to ask for help because you don't know what you don't know. But you can figure it out, especially if you have friends that have done it before you. And you just push into that and you get them to help. So this is me and mate, my brother-in-law Troy. We're just out here in the back paddock and the boys have been chainsawing out here and Troy's here to help. And we're just going to take as much of this down to ground level as we can. The closer we get it to ground level, the easier it's going to be to kill off. The cow will walk over it and stomp it down and the ants will bore into it and eat it out. And that way it's at ground level, it won't be interfering with anything. So they've chopped quite a few trees down this morning, but there is still a bunch to do. So we'll let you just watch in the shade.
I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to take Matilda back to her pasture now and let her settle in for the night. And we will see you again really soon. Sunshine and raindrops, friends. May you have lots of them in all the right amounts.